I am alpha, and I harbor affection for my brother in an attempt to discern whether he reciprocates my feelings. I orchestrated a semblance of ambiguity with a little o. Consequently, I found myself forcefully cast upon the bed. By my brother. Quite audacious, aren't you? Utilizing my resources, my familial card, to rendezvous with other men at my hotel? I warn you, you are treading on dangerous ground. Fearful, I pushed against him. You promised me you would never lay a hand on me. With a smile, he replied, rest assured, I would never harm you. With that, he tenderly caressed the nape of my neck and bit down gently. It was Enigma, and I felt utterly despondent. Brother, it's Enigma. Why on earth didn't you mention it sooner? As an alpha, I possess a rather difficult to discuss proclivity deriving solace from skin hunger. Only my half-brother is privy to this secret. He is remarkably kind, alleviating my distress by holding me close during slumber and even emitting pheromones that soothe me. Strangely, despite both of us being alphas, his pheromones have a calming effect on me. When G-siming is absent, my sleep becomes restless. Thus, on that particular night, I awoke. On the balcony, the man's fingertips flickered like embers, seemingly engaged in a phone call. Yes, still handling things, little o, almost done. I'll bring it home for you to see. A wave of disappointment washed over me. I am not an omega, nor can I be with G-siming. I thought it best to seek solace elsewhere. Watching G-siming end the call and extinguish the crimson glow of his fingertips, I hastily closed my eyes, feigning ignorance. A barely audible footfall approached, and the man turned over on the bed. He carried the chill of the outside world with him, wrapping his arms around my waist. His cool fingertips brushed against my skin through the fabric. My eyes grew heavy, and I moved slightly, convincing myself that this was merely a dream. It must be a dream. Perhaps my self-hypnosis worked, as I indeed fell asleep once more. In my dreams, I returned to my childhood. I beheld my dolls and my drool cloth, both lying together in the trash bin. How old are you to still be clinging to these? You carry them around like a child. Have you completed your exams? Practiced the piano? Just like your father, you are utterly hopeless. Stop crying. After the woman spoke, she left, and I watched her silhouette vanish into the darkness. In truth, I had experienced such dreams before, yet never with the same unsettling intensity that evoked sorrow as I did tonight. It was G-siming who roused me from my slumber. Upon waking, I gazed vacantly at the man before me. G-siming is strikingly handsome, with sharp features and deep-set eyes. A mere glance feels as though one could be drawn in entirely. I found myself lost in thought as he reached out, gently wiping away the tears beneath my eyes. What troubles you, let? Did you have a nightmare? Only then did I realize the sensation on my face was the sting of tears. No, not at all. I instinctively denied it. G-siming held me closely, gently caressing my hair. All right, if you don't wish to speak, then don't. Just remember, your brother will always be by your side. I lingered in his embrace for a while. He was so wonderfully kind that I found it hard to part from him, let alone push him away. However, G-siming was now of an age where discussions of marriage were appropriate. He was a normal man who deserved a beautiful match. And I could not selfishly cling to him, keeping him by my side. With this thought in mind, I extended my hand to push him away, then hastily leaped off the bed. Brother, I might be late for school. G-siming paused momentarily before responding. All right, I'll drive you. I quickly completed my morning routine and waited for him in the garage. G-siming followed closely behind, placing a crab roe bun and soy milk into my hands through the car window. Eat your breakfast. G-siming had a penchant for cleanliness. His car was always immaculate, imbued with a subtle scent of fur from his pheromones. He upheld certain rules, such as refraining from smoking or eating inside the vehicle. I shook my head. It will just end up smelling. G-siming looked up and chuckled. Who was it that drunkenly insisted on throwing up in my car before? He glanced at me through the rearview mirror, sighing, why are you sitting in the back today? Are you distancing yourself from your brother? Did I perhaps hit you in a dream? I choked on my words, attempting to open the car door, but G-siming stopped me. Stay seated. The back seat is safer. He then turned slightly, extending his arm towards me, his long fingers beckoning. I rested my face in his palm as I always did, and he rubbed my chin affectionately. Good boy. I was just joking earlier. I would never hit you. My nose tinged with warmth as I nodded. In truth, G-siming had often threatened to discipline me, but after noticing the scars on my body, he ceased to mention it. I was a troubled youth indulging in alcohol, smoking, and other vices, yet G-siming had managed to steer me onto a better path. He cared for me like a grandson, and initially, I had resisted fiercely, deliberately vomiting in his car while intoxicated. I would feign dizziness and mess with his hair, even surreptitiously taking photos of him. On days when he provoked me, I would share a wave of mischief with the younger employees at his company, testing his authority over me. Siming was generally a composed individual, yet I had finally managed to infuriate him. As I mingled with a group of ruffians, I was abruptly yanked from the bed by my blanket. "Get out," he exclaimed, then turned to me, asking, "What are you doing?" I exhaled smoke in his direction. "Just getting ready to play cards." With a stern expression, he removed the cigarette from my mouth. "Playing cards?" Before I could respond, he gripped my chin with one hand, pushing me against the wall, his dark eyes radiating an unyielding ferocity. "Rang, are you asking for a beating? Without a beating you won't remember, right?" His words struck a nerve within me, and I impulsively charged at him, colliding with his jaw. "You're the one asking for it. My parents don't care about me. What gives you the right to?" Siming spat out a trickle of blood, and before he could react, I lunged at him again, and we began to wrestle. I found myself at a disadvantage, unable to understand why. His pheromones seemed more potent, his aura reminiscent of my father's, overpowering and weakening me. In a swift motion, he flipped me onto the ground, pinning me down with a grip on my neck, his voice laden with authority. "Rang, you've erred, and it's time for a lesson." His voice suddenly faltered as his calloused fingers brushed against my waist, where a scar lay hidden. His warm touch lingered, and he inquired, "Rang, tell me who did this to you?" He flipped me over. "Don't move." As I struggled, he swiftly removed his tie, binding my hands. He then lifted my shirt to inspect my torso. His eyes reddened, as if he had consumed alcohol. "Rang, tell me, who was it? Who should I have my brother eliminate?" Despite the fight, I bit my lip, observing the tension in his furrowed brow. My inner turmoil began to dissipate slightly as I turned my head. He was genuinely angry. He cared because I had been harmed. Did he truly care for me? Was there anyone in this world who cared for me? With a sudden pang in my heart, I turned away, determined to resist him no longer. "You don't need to worry about it." Siming enveloped me in his arms. His shoulders were broad, and that night, exhausted from tears, I fell asleep against him. Strangely, I did not awaken. The faint scent of his pheromones seemed to linger, never leaving my side. The man was stoic, his driving steady. Finally arriving at school, I glanced at the time. It was less than 10 minutes until class began. Siming got out to adjust my scarf. "What time does class end?" "I'll come pick you up." I shook my head. "Today is my friend's birthday. You needn't trouble yourself to pick me up." Siming frowned slightly. "Rang, I never said I was busy. Even if I were, picking you up wouldn't be a bother." Before I could articulate my thoughts, a familiar voice called out from a distance. Rang. What a coincidence. Chin Yuha, a lively boy, had been a dorm mate of mine before our high school divided into different classes. I smiled and waved at him. He approached and hugged my arm. "Did you arrive early?" I nodded, introducing him to Siming. Chin Yuha's eyes brightened, and he bowed slightly. "Hello, brother." My brother looked particularly handsome today, clad in a tailored suit, though his nose was slightly reddened from the cold. His dark eyes scrutinized Chin Yuha, and he smiled, glancing at me. "Is this your friend?" "Yes, I've known Rang since middle school. We're quite close." "Is that so?" Siming's gaze lingered on Chin Yuha, and as he lowered his eyes, I felt a twinge of discomfort and bit my lip. He had smiled several times now. Chin Yuha was both adorable and clever, his voice sweet. Surely Siming must like him. Otherwise, why would he be staring? "Not bad." Siming's voice was deep, and I felt a wave of discomfort wash over me as I looked up. Siming's Adam's apple bobbed. "Rang, today is this young man's birthday, right?" I shook my head. "No, it's another friend." "Really?" I was too preoccupied to think, so I simply nodded. Meeting Siming's dark gaze, he remarked, "It seems our Rang has quite a few friends." I was unsure whether he was complimenting me or hinting at something else. I replied, "Yes, quite a few." "Brother, would you like me to introduce one to you?" Siming's jaw tightened. "No need. Call me after class. I'll come pick you up." He got into the car and started the engine. Why was he upset? Oh, I suddenly recalled. Siming must already have someone special in his heart. Someone he wished to introduce to our parents. "Rang, your brother is just as handsome as you are," Chin Yuha remarked. still clinging to my arm as we walked toward the classroom. A day of classes was hardly productive. After indulging in cake for dinner, I hesitated repeatedly before sending my location to Ji Siming. He promptly called, and I stepped outside the private room, crouching in a corner. "Brother," I said. The response was curt, "Come out." "Have you arrived?" I quickly informed my friends and left, indeed spotting Ji Siming's car outside. "How did you get here so fast?" I couldn't help but inquire as I opened the door and settled inside. I heard him say I was nearby dropping off a friend. A friend? Pondered, somewhat taken aback, as a chilling aura enveloped me. Ji Siming's long fingers gripped the seatbelt, slowly and carefully maneuvering it from my chest to my waist, and with a soft click he fastened it. He did not immediately release me. Instead, he leaned closer, inhaling my scent, the warmth of his breath causing a tingling sensation on my neck. "Have you had a bit too much to drink?" he asked. "Did you enjoy yourself today?" Obediently, my body tensed and I swallowed hard. "Brother is your friend." "No, it's—" I let out a long breath, uncertain of what I was relieved about, as that day had yet to arrive, and my brother had not yet laid all cards on the table. My brother had not yet cast me from the bed. As for the matter at hand, even if he could mark me, what of it? The thought of my father made me scrunch my nose in distaste. "I detest that." Ji Siming gazed ahead, silent and contemplative. Upon returning home, I headed for a shower. When I emerged, my brother was already asleep on the sofa, still clad in his gray shirt, half-buttoned, accentuating his pale skin at the collarbone, wrist, and ankle. His head tilted back, Adam's apple pronounced, the back of his hand lightly resting over his eyes as he breathed softly. I couldn't resist the urge to tiptoe closer, wanting to observe him for a while longer. However, I was soon discovered, as he pulled me into his embrace, gently patting my back and noticing the slight dampness. He lifted his eyelids. "Why did you come out without drying your hair?" I lay on him, reluctant to move. Ji Siming took a hairdryer and began to dry my hair. His fingers wove through my locks. The sensation was delightful, and my throat tingled. I felt an urge to suck on his fingers, but I restrained myself. I had been punished for this habit more than once in my childhood, with my thumb often reddened and chafed from excessive sucking. I had never quite managed to break this tendency, but it had lessened somewhat since being with Ji Siming. Once my hair was dry, we lay down on the bed together. With the lights turned off, he held me tightly, my face buried in his chest. The pressure was almost suffocating, yet I relished it. Tonight, Ji Siming felt particularly warm, almost feverish. I shifted slightly and asked softly, "Brother, are you feeling unwell?" He didn't lift his eyelids, simply replied, "No. Move over, it's time to sleep." I couldn't fall asleep, and after a while, Ji Siming rubbed the top of my head with his chin. "My sensitivity period is approaching. I've taken many suppressants before, but they don't seem to be effective this time, my dear." Ji Siming paused, seemingly awaiting my response. Was he finally going to push me away? I understood that during the sensitivity period, I couldn't share the same space with others. Otherwise, it would be viewed as a territorial violation, leading to conflict. However, being together with him was an entirely different matter. It was tumultuous. Ji Siming claimed the suppressants were ineffective, a notion I had never encountered before. I comprehended his meaning, stifled my tears, and obediently replied, "I understand, brother. I will sleep in my own room tomorrow." Ji Siming remained silent for a long time. Just as I was about to drift into a sorrowful slumber, I heard his deep voice. "Move over, I truly have no way to deal with you." Wasn't it I who was at a loss? I thought, my eyes raining tears. I recalled the day of the fight when I woke up beside Ji Siming, only to find it was already 5 in the afternoon. Upon seeing me awake, he playfully tapped my nose. "Did you sleep well? If it weren't for you sucking on your fingers, I would have thought you had fainted." I crawled off him, rubbing my eyes, and glanced out the window, where the sun was setting, and a wave of desolation washed over me. However, Ji Siming soon stood up, illuminating the entire room. In the semi-open kitchen, he donned an apron at the island, smiling tenderly. "Are you hungry, my dear? Go wash your face and prepare to eat." The scent of his pheromones lingered, pervading the house. Glancing at his coat hanging on the rack, I couldn't resist burying my face in it. The fragrance intensified, and in that moment, I realized I was doomed. I had developed a physiological attraction towards my brother, yet I was hopelessly gay, traversing the path of perversion. I had assumed Ji Siming would distance himself from me, I pretended to drink before bed, feigning a struggle. Brother, honestly, I can't sleep without alcohol. Weren't you sleeping soundly in my arms the other day? Your pheromones seem to have a calming effect. Siming took the glass from my hand without setting it down, tilting his head back to finish it. His gaze bore into mine. Then I'll hold you while you sleep. The more I reminisced, the more my heart ached, tears streaming down my face. Fortunately, I managed to suppress my sobs. Yet I was on the brink of losing control. Just as I contemplated rising to feign a trip to the bathroom, intending to cry it out, I felt his hand on my face, causing my heart to clench. I heard him sigh, sucking your fingers again, making a mess with saliva, like a little baby. I sensed Siming moving in the dark, seemingly unbuttoning his shirt. Soft tissues gently wiped my face, and in the next moment, something pressed against my lips. Instinctively, I inhaled, realizing it was Siming's chest. Brother, you. I was taken aback, my eyes widening in shock. To reach such a level, even if he were to directly tell me he didn't like me, I wouldn't dare to believe it. My heart swelled with excitement, preventing me from sleeping. If my brother liked me and was willing to be with me, what harm could there be in love? Though it might involve a bit of pain. If Siming cared for me, why had he never expressed it? I pondered this for most of the night. The next morning, I awoke with dark circles under my eyes and spotted Siming in front of the mirror, applying something. I immediately fell silent and quietly crawled back into bed. I discreetly messaged Chin Yuhua on my phone. He was a heartthrob with abundant romantic experience, having dated countless handsome men. Thus, I inquired, Yuhua, how can you tell if someone likes you? The response came swiftly, you like someone and they like you? I hesitated, pondering whether to divulge my feelings to anyone, when he continued typing. You like your brother, right? What? I replied, shocked. I could tell that day. Your brother even helped you organize your clothes. If it were my brother, I'd freeze him out in the nude, and he'd only scold me for being foolish. The situation clearly indicates that my brother possesses a different disposition. I contemplated continuing to type my inquiry. Is that true? Is there any way to confirm it? Chinyu responded with a voice message. Confirm what? Isn't it apparent? That day I mentioned we were the best of friends. Did you not notice the look in his eyes? I'm dying of laughter. You even said you would introduce him to someone. His face turned so dark. I thought it was merely a playful dynamic between you two brothers. If you don't believe me, come find me this afternoon, and we can test it out. Test it out? I switched off my phone. A test it shall be. Chin-yu did not permit me to go to his home. Instead, he instructed me to book a hotel. I complied, determined not to let my brother drive me this time, opting to take a taxi instead. It seemed my sensitive period was approaching, and today, Siming was at home, having taken a day off work. He was dressed flamboyantly. Are you heading out? He queried. I nodded in affirmation. Just as I was about to step out, he abruptly seized my collar. Aren't you bringing your brother along? He asked, his expression turning cold. Brother, I made plans with my friend, I replied, puzzled.
Siming's demeanor shifted instantly.
Is that so? Go on then, he said, allowing me to leave. Upon my arrival, Chin-yu and Ji were already at the hotel, having taken a shower and lounging on the sofa, tossing a game controller my way. Just wait a moment and then you'll call your brother, he instructed. For reasons unknown, despite merely playing a game, I felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. When it came time to make the call, I hesitated. Chin-yu frowned at me, brother. This is a critical moment. If you don't call him or provoke him, how will you ever have a conversation? But if my brother catches me, he will definitely punish me, I protested. Chin-yu replied, we aren't actually doing anything. Who says friends can't book a hotel to play games together? Are you up for it? With that, he snatched the phone from my hand. If you can't do it, I'll make the call for you. My trembling hands fumbled as I watched the phone ring, but surprisingly, it didn't connect. My brother's phone is always on. Recalling the scene I witnessed earlier, with Siming dressed so impeccably, a dreadful thought struck me. Could he be secretly meeting someone? My heart plummeted, and I immediately stood up to head back, only to collide with a tall figure at the door. My collar was yanked, and as I looked up, I met a piercing gaze. What a coincidence, Zhang Rang, he said. Brother, what are you doing here? You little rascal. How do you think I ended up here? I'm the one who supports you, and you used my credit card to book a hotel room to meet another man. Let me tell you, you're in deep trouble. With that, he threw me into the room. The potent scent of pheromones swiftly enveloped the space. Chin-yu stammered, turning to flee, only to run into my brother's bodyguard. It's a misunderstanding. You two go ahead and sleep. I'll explain everything later. The door slammed shut behind us. I gazed up at my brother, my legs feeling weak. Although I too am an adult, I felt utterly spineless and nearly brought to tears. Brother, I was wrong. Siming tossed me onto the bed. His pheromones surged forth, and it was known that during the sensitive period, individuals become irritable, anxious, and significantly more aggressive. Would he truly turn me to pulp in a fit of rage? I curled into myself, covering my chest, attempting to evoke a shred of compassion within him. Brother, you promised you would never hit me, that you would always stand by my side. Siming replied, I won't hit you, yet. He was rolling up his sleeves and removing his watch, revealing his strong, elongated arms. I steeled myself, closed my eyes, and shouted, Go ahead. If you kill me, you'll have no brother left. Suddenly, I felt a tight grip around my neck, and my body was flipped over, weight pressing down upon me. His low voice rumbled in my ear. Is that so, Zhang Rang? I never considered you my brother. The anticipated pain arrived, but it was in my neck, where I felt a fierce bite. His heated breath mingled with my wintry pheromones, and I surrendered completely. I was helpless, unable to articulate my pleas. My brother, he was. How could I have thought that his dominance would ever be effective? Why had I become enamored with his scent? He was indeed superior at being above others, pinnacle of excellence. My thoughts ceased, and a place I had never before accessed became warm and moist. Siming grasped my chin, tenderly rubbing his nose against mine. Rang Rang, relax a little. Siming's sensitive period astonishingly lasted for a full fortnight. During that time, I managed to awaken him for a moment, asking why he hadn't expressed his feelings for me sooner. He lowered his gaze. Initially, I thought you didn't like men. Later, I believed you didn't like me, so I tested the waters. That day you lay on my chest, you didn't resist. Did you? A question mark slowly formed above my head. How did you know I wasn't asleep? Siming's dominance over me continued. That day I didn't release pheromones. Didn't you say that without me you couldn't sleep? I couldn't evade his advances and quickly explained. I meant I wouldn't drink. Brother, you're quite the schemer. Suddenly, I recalled the phone call he had made and felt compelled to inquire. Didn't you say you wanted to bring someone home last time? Siming's brow furrowed slightly. When did you hear that? That night, I replied, my voice lowering. I overheard you on the phone. His expression grew serious as he cupped my face. For me, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. What I desire is you. I felt unaccustomed to his words, my eyes widening as I stared at him. He continued, Is this why you've been trying to distance yourself from me? If I don't confront this, will you continue to hide like an ostrich?
Rang.
You should be well aware of how I feel about you. I cast my gaze downward. I feel like no one could possibly like me. Even my parents don't. My words were abruptly silenced by his kiss. It's my failure for not making you feel loved. So now, Rang, let us truly experience it. I gasped, and then the world around me faded away. On the last day of December, Siming's sensitive period came to an end. Yet our story was far from over. To express my gratitude to Yu, I treated him to a meal. His gaze flitted between my neck, a sweet smile on his face. It seems little Rang has been rather soundly beaten by his brother. I felt a flush of embarrassment, but quickly regained my composure, lifting my chin nonchalantly. What can I say? Siming has excellent stamina. I'm no match for him. Yu took a sip of his tea, gazing out the window. I envy little Rang. I wish my brother treated me as well. I frowned at him. Would you like me to assist you? Yu shook his head. No need to try. I know he doesn't like me at all. At that moment, any consolation felt rather feeble, yet unexpectedly, Yu laughed. But honestly, I don't care at all. After our meal, my brother texted me, stating he would take me home. I bid farewell to Yu. Do you need a ride? No, my driver is here to pick me up, he replied, bouncing off to the roadside. I followed his retreating figure with my gaze, only to spot a familiar silhouette. Someone stepped out of a car to open the door for him. My brother's bodyguard? No, that couldn't be right. My brother's salary isn't high enough. How could he be working a side job? The honk of a horn jolted me from my thoughts. Siming, clad in a coat, leaned against the car, his figure tall and sharp. After locking eyes with me, he extended his arms. I rushed into his embrace, climbing upwards to encircle his neck. Brother, will we be beaten for returning like this? I inquired. No, Siming replied with unwavering confidence. planting a kiss upon my forehead. I had everything arranged long before deciding to confess to Jiang Jiang. Epilogue 1. My father remarried and brought home a woman along with her son. I pondered what sort of woman could captivate my usually serious father so thoroughly. Upon returning home, she seemed acceptable enough, but what truly captivated me was her son. The little boy in a bunny hat, weeping beside the trash can in the backyard. I crouched down to him and asked, "Why are you crying?" The small child pointed at the trash can, saying, "Mine." It turned out to be a toy and a piece of cloth. I wanted to help him, but the woman approached to stop me. "Simon, don't bother him. Crying at that age? Who lets their child play with these things all day? Don't suck your fingers." The child's hand was pulled out and reddened, and he fearfully hid behind me. I knew I shouldn't interfere, but I couldn't help but speak up against the woman. The little one looked up at me. His round face crumpled in tears as he called me brother. 2. Through the seasons, I only returned home briefly during summer and winter vacations. Each time, the child would beam with joy, yet when I left, he never tried to keep me. The car would drive far away, and I could still see his figure in the rearview mirror, a tiny black dot. He was probably crying again. I turned back and asked, "Would you like to stay with your brother for a while?" His mother came out to pull him back, saying, "You can't delay your brother." I insisted it wouldn't be a bother and asked him if he wanted to come with me. His eyes sparkled with longing, yet he shook his head. Later, I went abroad and spent 5 years away. Upon my return, Jiang Jiang had grown into a young man. However, he was now drinking, smoking, and mingling with unsavory company. I watched him extinguish a cigarette in his palm and saw him drunkenly slumped over a table. I couldn't quite articulate my guilt, but it stirred a discomfort within me. I told him I was back, yet he no longer called me brother. He told me to get lost. How had he changed so drastically? 3. I began to pay attention to him and treated him kindly. This person showed no gratitude, but I happened to notice that he seemed quite fond of my pheromones. Since he liked them, I decided to let him indulge. I observed him waking up abruptly from nightmares, always appearing lethargic, as if these troubles were somehow my fault. Yet, I still felt uneasy, pitied him. I felt a pang of sadness for him. It dawned on me that I wanted to save him. This was not a wise thought, until that day when I saw one of his friends inform me that he had gone to a hotel with a group of boys. I was livid. It wasn't because he was still young or because he was straying from the right path at his age. I was envious. I had, indeed, fallen in love with him. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and give a thumbs up to support. Until we meet again in the next story.